Easter just passed, and I hope you guys had a great holiday. So here's another banger for you out of that Southern cookbook. Hey, let's make mama proud on this one. All right, first things first, you already know I'm rocking with that smoked meat. I'm choosing pork. Pork you never did none to me. Then next, we're coming in with that better than Bullion chicken flavor. If you know, you know. Then now, we got our Idaho potatoes. Hey, feel free to use any other potato that you may have if you don't have those. And this is just salt right here. Then next, we're jumping over to that large red bell pepper. Beautiful. This is all you'll need for it. And then we got our bay leaves. This is something that you can find in your local grocery store. Onion powder. Yeah, of course, you gotta have onion powder in this. Can't have it without it. And then the onions, I already diced them up. That's a medium dice, small to medium dice right there. And then 2 large garlic cloves. That's plenty. And then, of course, the star of the show, those green beans. Now, with our smoked meat, the objective of this is we're building flavors right now, okay? So that's why we're using the smoked meat. This is gonna like set the tone for these green beans. And this what's gonna give it that flavor and that pop, okay? So get this on the stove, get it going. Mine took an hour, so be mindful of that. Now, going to that large red bell pepper. And if you watch my collard green video, you see how I've sliced my red bell pepper. So I'm not gonna take as long in this video. If I go a little too fast, just slow it down. You can always slow it down or just rewatch it again. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is slice those 2 knuckles off, both top and bottom on that red bell pepper. And then you're gonna lay your knife flat, and then you're gonna work your way around this bell pepper, removing that membrane, taking your time, not rushing. And always, if you're not comfortable with knives, make sure you follow the instructions from the manufacturer so you don't cut yourself. And here's a pro tip. Remember, a dull knife is way more dangerous than a sharp knife. Very easy to cut yourself, okay? So we just saved a lot of bell pepper. And with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and remove the rest of the membrane that's on this bell pepper. It's much easier to do it this way that you see me doing it, where you just lay the bell pepper flat, laying your knife flat, and just working your knife around it. Taking your time until you get comfortable, not rushing, okay? So it's important that you do not rush, and I cannot emphasize this no more than what I'm doing. Now, once you're done, that's what it should look like. Just like that, nice and clean. And then now, all of these pieces like that, no, we're not gonna throw that stuff away. No. We're gonna go ahead and cut around the rest of that little dry area, that bitter area, that little membrane. And if you haven't subscribed yet, and you definitely getting some value out of this, do me a favor, like this, share it, subscribe. All right, and this is the part of the video where I like to say classes in session. All right, so now, if you got a sharp knife, if you notice, you can turn this bell pepper upside down like I got, and I'm cutting on the outside of the skin side. But if your knife is not that sharp, then you wanna do it from the inside. And see what I'm doing right now? I got my fingers curled up under like that. I'm making sure I'm not putting that knife over top of my knuckles, but I'm keeping it right in front of my knuckles to make sure I don't cut myself. And that right there helps you slice multiple bell pepper pieces at a time. So I'm just grabbing all these little pieces and I'm doing the same thing right now. And what this is doing is it's getting me ready to keep building those flavors. And then when you build those flavors, guess what? Ha! And this is where the magic begins. Nah, once again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get back on it. So let's get this bell peppers inside of a bowl so we can go to our next part right now. And when you're done slicing up your bell peppers, that's what it should look like this. And look, when you cook, have fun with it. You know, don't look at it like it's a chore. You know what I mean? Cook it as a labor of love, as we already know. So now we're gonna go ahead and work on these Idaho potatoes. I got 2 large potatoes, although I just showed one. I'm just gonna slice one up for you guys, but I did wind up using 2. So just what you're seeing me do right here. I'm slicing that in half, and then I went back and sliced it in half again, and then I'm just making like some nice little chunks out of it, okay? That's a medium dice, and just follow exactly what I'm doing, people. Don't overthink it. Also, make sure you have a bowl of water, so set yourself up first with that cool water. And the reason I'm putting these potatoes in this cool water is to make sure that they don't turn brown on me. So yes, you want to make sure when you set yourself up for success, make sure you got some cool water so your potatoes don't turn brown, and make sure they're all tucked inside of the bowl like you see me doing. Now, the garlic, one of my favorite parts. Now, you can slice them as if you're doing like an onion like you see me doing, but if you're not that comfortable with a knife, you could just slice them like this, the way you see me doing right here. And when you do your garlic, keep in mind, if you don't want that garlic smell on your fingers, this is a pro tip: wear gloves, because garlic is strong and it will be in your fingers. Oh yeah. So now go ahead and slice it up, and then we're gonna just take this garlic down to a basically minced. So what mincing is, as you can see, I'm going over it multiple times. I'm gonna go over it like probably like 2-3 times, maybe 4. And what that does is you get to cut it down to a really small size, and then we're gonna put that inside of a container right now and hold that to the side so we could just start cooking everything at one time. Okay, so now make sure you get all that garlic on there too now. So now our meat is done. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take some out the pot right now just to show you guys how it should look. Yeah, there we go, right there. Yeah, beautiful. You see that right there? That's what you want that to look like. And then you should be able to take your finger and just pinch a little piece off with little to no effort. And that's how you know it's done. So now that that meat is done, or rather in this case it's tender because it's already smoked. So now that it's tender, we're gonna go ahead and add some of that better than bouillon. Now, you might be asking how much. The measurements are down in the description, but we're gonna work on building you guys' tongue palate. So what that means, it's your taste buds, but it's also how you identify different flavor profiles and how things taste, if it tastes good or not. So now, the onion, this is 1 large onion. I forgot to mention that. That's 1 large onion, okay? And I'll make sure I put that in the beginning of the video too. I'll put a little tag on it. So now, that's our onion, that's our garlic, and then I put in 2 bay leaves, and I'm gonna use 3/4 of the bell pepper. Now, with the bay leaves, although you saw me put 2 in there, I'm only going to cook the bay leaves in there for a total of 2 minutes, because 2 bay leaves is really kind of pushing it. 1 is enough, but I like the strongness of the bay leaf. I like that flavor, not the strongness, but the flavor of it, okay? So for me, I love it, but I'm only gonna cook it in there for like 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna pull it out. So now, I'm gonna go ahead and take that lid off because I don't let it cook for like 2 minutes. And I wanna just allow it to just, you know, do its thing. This is where your flavors are building. You're building that profile right here. And then by now, after about 2 to 5 minutes, your peppers and onions, they should be soft and tender. And then once they're tender, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the next step, which is to add our green beans in there. And once we get those green beans in, you wanna make sure that they're all underneath all of the broth. And if you don't have enough broth in there, then you're gonna add some water to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at least first, make sure it's all spread out in that pot. And if you don't have it covered, if it's not covered with liquid, add some liquid to it, just enough to cover it, okay? Just like you just saw me do. And then of course, I gotta go back and adjust the seasoning again with some of that better than bouillon. All right, so now, this is where it's game time. You see how that look already? That look lovely. So now this is where you're gonna taste your food. Let's see what kind of profile you're working with as far as those flavors. And if it's not enough flavor, then hit it with some more of that bouillon. That's what I just did. Now, I'm just giving this like a nice little quick stir. And then once I get the base of the broth, or in this case, the pot liquor, like the old folk used to call it, like my grandma used to call it. God knows I miss that woman. But once you get that pot liquor right with these green beans, then next you could go ahead and season it, because you just want to make sure it got body, it got flavor, like richness, but it's not too salty. So now let's hit it with that onion powder. I'm doing this to taste, y'all. To taste meaning to my taste buds, to my liking. Now, when you use this slap your mama stuff that I'm about to use soon, careful with that. A lot of salt. Now, some black pepper. Make sure you don't make it too spicy. Slap your mama. Remember, it has salt in it already, okay? So you don't want to add too much. The better than bouillon, it also has salt as well, so you don't want to add too much. So now let's work this, stir it around. You see that? That look amazing. Now, once you got your seasonings right, the last thing we're gonna do is drain this water off. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our potatoes inside the pot. Yeah. And then after we get them all in the pot, we're gonna make sure everything is covered, making sure that liquid is just above those potatoes, okay? And we're gonna let this cook down until your potatoes and your green beans are tender. Now keep in mind, I cut my potatoes a little on the thicker side. That way it allowed for me a little bit more time to cook my green beans. But I like my green beans with a slight little crunch. Not al dente, but just like a slight little crunch. If you like yours soft, your green beans, and being that these are fresh snap green beans, then what you want to do is you want to cook your green beans a little bit first and then add your potatoes. But me, I like a little crunch, so I'm gonna add my I'm gonna add my potatoes a little early, okay? And let the good times roll. And once your potatoes are tender, at least for me, it's ready. So now let's get ready for that plate up. And when I tell you cooking is a labor of love, it's a labor of love. And this is one of those recipes, no matter what time of year it is, your family is gonna go crazy for it when they see it. So I'm not gonna say much more. If you've been getting some value out of this, hey, you know what to do. Like it, share it, subscribe it. And remember, cooking is a labor of love. Don't complicate it. And also, recipes, they're no more than a guide. That's it. Just look at it like an instruction manual, but for food. And until next time, I appreciate you all. And of course, if you're looking for an amazing collard green recipe, click the link.